this week's technical video we're going to be talking about arm swing. Now arm swing is very important for running technique, but it's often something that's forgotten about because runners tend to think about their lower body and the fact that their legs are what's in contact with the floor, and that's where most of the drive comes from, but they completely forget about their upper body and how important this is in the overall picture. Now when you think about it, the arms mirror the legs. So as our left leg comes forward, so does our right arm, and vice versa. They help with our forward momentum. So if we don't have much of an arm swing, then we're not going to have as much forward momentum going along. So if you're a runner who runs a bit like in the sort of T-Rex position like this, you know, with their short arms, then that's going to have an impact on your forward momentum, and also it's going to have a knock-on effect on how much your legs are swinging through as well, and on your stride length. Because if you have a good good range of motion with your arms, then you're going to have a good range of motion with your legs. If you start to swing your arms nice and quick, then your legs are going to start moving faster as well. So think of the arms as an extension of the legs, but the arms also help to control the legs as well. So I'm just going to go through a few pointers and some common mistakes that people make when it comes to their arm swing. So first of all, people often come across their body like so, and they end up twisting too much through the torso as a result, and that wastes energy because of course we don't want to be going this way and that way, this way and that way when we're running. So from side to side we want to be moving forward straight ahead because that's where we want to go. Now that's not to say that we're not going to have a bit of a twist through the torso, because that is actually important. We don't want our back to be really stiff and no movement coming from the pelvis, because as we're running along our pelvis does move, and that is natural, and we need that for efficient biomechanics, because as our torso twists, that helps to engage our core muscles for our core stability, but it also helps the recovery leg to swing through as well. However, when it becomes excessive is when, if you imagine a line going down your middle, maybe if you've got a zipped hoodie on, think of that as your midline. If your hand comes across that midline, then that's excessive. Alright? So we don't want our elbows to be sticking out and moving like this. We want that momentum to be going more forward and back. Now some people, depending on your proportions, you might need to have a bit more of an elbow sticking out more than others, because if you are quite wide in the torso, then of course in order to keep this hand near to the torso, the elbow is naturally going to stick out slightly. However, of course, trying to make sure that that's not excessive. Another thing that we want to do is we want to also make sure that our arms are nice and relaxed through our swing as well, because I see a lot of runners really tense through the shoulders, really tense through the neck and the arms, alright, and they're really putting too much effort in. So just try and let the momentum take your arm swing a little bit more, so that you're nice and relaxed, you're not really tensing up, alright, because again that's going to waste energy. We want to think about our socket to pocket motion. So the range of motion that your hand will travel through is from being roughly level with the pocket on your trousers or your shorts to being level with your shoulder socket or eye socket if you're sprinting, because you obviously want that greater range of motion with your arms while doing that. So that's a good phrase to think of, socket to pocket. And one final point is, well, this is probably more of a sprinting point, but nevertheless it is still relevant to mention. Some people end up not having this sort of nice 90-degree angle at the elbow, and they end up having too much extension through the elbow, like so. So their arm might come back further than it should. Now again, that's inefficient, because if we think about our arm swing, we want our socket to pocket motion, so going through like this, and we want our arm to drive forward to help drive our legs, like so. However, if we start from back here, the arm has got further to travel before we get to that forward bit just here, which means that's going to be inefficient, because that means our leg is going to be on the ground for longer because our arms mirror our legs. So if we've got further to go from here to here, then we've got longer to wait while this foot's on the ground before we can drive off, like so. Okay, so it's a bit like overstriding. If you land out in front just here with your leg, then that's got further to go before we can get to this point of push off just here. So hopefully that makes sense. So just remember to keep your arms nice and relaxed, socket to pocket, 90-degree angle, and see how you get on with them.